Hello, it is Thursday at 3 p.m. That means it's time for Live at Epiphan. Thanks for being here. And we have a new face on the show today,
Hi
Mr.
there.
Matthew Reed. Welcome to Live at Epiphan.
Hi, thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, it's great to have you here. So, Matt is our new video producer at Epiphan. And you got successfully set up with I believe you're using a Pearl Mini today to stream into the
Yeah,
studio. What was that like setting up?
it was a process. I mean, I've never really worked with too much streaming stuff, and it's just really impressive what it's capable of. To be honest, I'm finding that it's really intuitive. It looks great. The Mini, I love that. Loving the big screen where I can see myself, and yeah, it was fairly intuitive to get it done, but a little bit of a process. Lots of cables, lots of interfaces to make it work properly, but the end product is awesome.
And some of those cables, I think we're going to solve today with our studio in a box setup, which is
Yes,
really trying to refine the setup down. So, like in your setup, we're trying to create something a little more permanent, like build your office into a studio.
absolutely.
But that might not always be possible. Sometimes you might have a show with a remote guest who is just joining for a single appearance, right? And how do you make the process as intuitive and easy for them as possible to be able to remotely broadcast themselves to the world? So we'll be getting into that main topic today a little bit. But first, I wanted to just check in with you, Matt. I know that you are a video shooter, editor,
Yep.
a bit of a camera nerd as well. So we've been chatting about cameras quite a bit. Can you tell me a little bit about what's been exciting for you lately and what cameras have been catching your interest?
Yeah, so I've worked with a lot of different cameras over the years, from kind of like the very low end DSLRs. Started off with, I think it was a 6D or a 60D way back in the day, and now kind of moving up the scales over the years to work with Arris and Reds, Black Magics, Sonys. Um, Obviously, there's a different need for cameras depending on the project, depending on what you're using them for, but once you start working with higher quality cameras, it's hard to take that step back down.
Yeah. And I know that you were just doing some shooting with some capturing some product photography with Epiphan, and you were shooting with the new Canon R5, which we talked about on our recent episode where we did a camera rundown. Just curious, what was it like using the R5? What kind of images were you able to take with that camera?
So I've always been a big Canon fan, purely for their color science. I think that the skin tones and the quality of their glass as well is always really good. And by glass I mean lenses. Um, and the R5 itself was really impressive, just from the perspective that it can really handle whatever you'd need from both a photography and video perspective. Um, the quality of the actual output within the camera, combined with the RF lenses, which I think they've released now for the R5 and the new Canon models. Um, the product shoot went really well. It was smooth in terms of what the camera was able to do for us. And a lot of the comments that we've actually had coming out of it is that it's so crisp and clean that some of the shots look like renders, which is always nice to hear when you're looking back at it.
I can't wait to see some of those photos on the Epiphan website soon enough. We're gonna dip into cameras today when we start talking about these boxes. So let's get into our main topic, the concept of a studio in a box. So having Matt appear on the show for this episode was a good example of getting someone set up for the first time to be able to stream live back to a studio, back to Epiphan Cloud, and to be able to produce content with that remote contributor. Um, you know, like we said with Matt, it was a unique opportunity to set up kind of a permanent studio in his room. So, that gives you some opportunities to really think about how to do things a bit more advanced. However, sometimes you just need to get someone in quickly and easily and keep the barrier to entry as low as possible. How can you make this as convenient as possible, plug and play for someone who maybe doesn't understand the difference between an SDI cable and an HDMI cable. So that's what Studio in a Box is all about. How can we fit the core group of components, camera, microphone, light, maybe some networking capabilities, maybe an encoder, all into one Pelican case so that it's as friendly to set up and plug and play as possible. So we're going to look at a few options we came across out there in the world and kind of review some of what we found. And first off, here you see this is called Studiobox. And Studiobox is an all-in-one Pelican case that is built with a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K. I think you can have a choice of micro four thirds lenses on it. It has a motorized pan tilt head, as well as you'll see kind of what's cool here is the lights themselves are built right into the lid of the box. I don't know if you can see that there. So LED with like a diffuser right on the lid of the box, so it kind of backs the camera. What else do they have here? A Sennheiser MKH50 shotgun mic, so no lavalier required. Oh, there is actually a lavalier option, and they also have an in-ear monitor, it looks like. So yeah, like first impressions, Matt, like when you see something like this, what is your first impression of this kit?
Awesome. I think this is technology showing us where the future is really. I remember the days when I was renting these sort of cameras, and the camera would come in a massive box like this with obviously the foam padding and stuff, but that's all you get in the box. And now I'm looking at it, like 10 years down the line, and you've got an entire basically production studio in a box there, and that's just going to make life a lot easier for not just the people that are being interviewed, but also potentially the crews and production crews that are working with it as well. So I think it's got a lot of potential. Definitely a lot of potential.
Yeah, good point. I love they have that nice big confidence monitor right under the camera. Like, let's take a look at this box a little more closely. So what is that? Like a 13-inch monitor right under the camera? So the camera, the eye line, I would think is probably pretty good here for the guest participant to be able to see either, whatever content, I guess. Maybe it's just a confidence monitor to mirror what the camera sees. But you could also, in theory, you could perhaps send a teleprompter script onto that monitor so that you could walk someone through some scripted content remotely. That could be pretty cool. Looks like they've got some nice sort of built-in ports into the case, everything from Ethernet to headphone. Looks like some other HDMI ports as well, so maybe you could add a couple other cameras. So just a nice, clean, pretty simple setup. And, pack it, you don't actually have to take anything out of the box, which is part of what I like here. Matt, just curious, like, is this enough to get it done for you? I know you're kind of quality conscious when it comes to video quality. Have you ever used a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema with micro four thirds lenses? Like, will those lenses be wide enough to have this right in front of someone's face? Because I would assume that camera's going to crop a little bit.
Yeah, I think obviously it depends on what the use case is for it. You're not going to be doing a run and gun moving shot with this. So for the purpose of probably a talking head or an interview of some sort, I think this could definitely serve a big purpose. And the lenses, I think, 24mm, 50mm. You've definitely got options there to be able to kind of work with whatever kind of setup you wanted in terms of maybe a wider shot, a close-up. I think that the ports and the way that they've designed the box seems very simple, so I'm not sure that it would be an issue for someone that has no real experience with this to receive this box and basically get it up and working fairly easily.
Mm-hmm. I did check into their case studies a little bit, and it seems like how they offer this is like with a service, so a tech would still, so the case wouldn't ship directly to the talent. Like, the case would ship to a local tech, who would then
Okay.
go and help the talent set it up. So I think you still, and it's, here in the image you see they have, they're doing a multi-camera, and I would think something like that you'd probably want to have a tech, and it looks like they even added another bounce light off the ceiling just to complement the lighting a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, very, very nice concept here. I do wonder how well this travels. Like, will this show up working from FedEx or UPS? Like, how rugged is it, the way that it's built? I wonder. But yeah, nice concept. It all fits nicely. Let's keep it moving here. Our next observation of a box setup. This is called Crew in a Box. And we've kind of keeping an eye on this for a couple years now. Oh, and they've got a nice little marketing video. Let's take a look here. Blow this up. Whoops. Make this a bit bigger. So this box is built with a 6K camera, a red Komodo or a Blackmagic cinema camera. And it looks like they're really gearing this more towards the cinema quality setup. So, really high-end cameras. You see the lights are a much larger sort of wraparound light panel. It looks like you actually do have to take the unit out of the box to set it up. But, I mean, that looks pretty cool. The green screen is the teleprompter is a real glass reflected teleprompter. So the eye line would be very good with this. That's really neat. I was kind of reading a bit of a story of who these guys are who made this box, and it sounds like they're kind of like Hollywood DOP type guys. So they've really put the effort here into image quality, which I think kind of shows with the expanded lighting setup. So interesting setup. What's your impression here when you see this?
I think this one looks, obviously in terms of camera quality, you've taken a step up from the Blackmagic. I think they say you can get a Blackmagic with this one too. But when you start talking about a red camera, I can see why, some of their use cases here are with big talent. So that's really cool to think that now, instead of actually paying to send an entire crew, which can be quite costly, you can send this out and potentially with a technician. It has a lot of capability. I really like although this one may not be quite as simple in terms of just opening the box and plug and play, maybe a couple of moving parts, I think that you're probably going to see a better result from this box in terms of the overall quality.
Yeah, it definitely looks like a step up. I do wonder, do you need 6K? I mean, it depends what you're doing. If you're recording spots, maybe 6K makes a lot of sense. But if you're streaming, I mean, I don't know anyone who's streaming 6K. So I wonder if that might be somewhat of overkill for a lot of types of production. But perhaps if this is more geared towards commercial production and recorded production. And just sort of looking at the backstory here, it seems like this kit spawned out of, pandemic times and some sort of network TV broadcasters needing to be able to capture celebrities reading lines into camera from their homes. So it kind of makes sense
that way. Yeah, I think that's probably the one thing that stands out to me with these boxes is that perhaps it does have limitations. It feels like they're really built for potentially just talking heads or interviews or very static shots. I'm not sure how this would work. I'd be interested to see if they've ever considered rigging the actual Pelican case up to something like a slider, and if you could actually add some movement to it that way. I'm sure that would make it a little bit more difficult for the interviewee, but maybe an idea for them if they haven't considered that yet.
Yeah, I think that another natural step up would be multicam. So like that's where Studiobox might have a good idea with being able to just sort of modular add 2 more cameras to the setup. It's pretty neat.
Absolutely.
let's keep it moving here. This is another one we've been following, and this has been around for a while. This is Wistia's little setup called Soapbox, and this is a DIY kit where they have recommended a setup that consists of like a small mirrorless camera, a small light panel, and a mic. And you could swap out the mirrorless camera for a webcam, I'm sure. A camera mounted microphone there, you see it with a webcam, and they've got like a little blue Yeti snowball mic. But I think the cool thing here is that they sort of fit the whole thing onto and mount it to a little Apple box, so it becomes very sort of portable. And maybe if you were in an office environment, or you have coworkers and you need to share your kit and pass it around the office, or collaborate with other teammates and just have a few quick streaming boxes nearby, maybe something like this could work. What do you think here? Is this enough to get some work done? Where could you see something like this being useful, Matt?
Yeah, I think you probably hit the nail on the head. I'm not sure this is geared towards higher end productions. This is probably something that's maybe geared towards companies, corporate companies, lower end productions. You could still get really good quality out of this. I would argue that it doesn't look to be quite as portable as the other ones, but overall, I could see that it definitely serves a purpose in the market. I'm not sure it's the one that I would go for personally, though.
Yeah, I mean, if you just need something quick that you can pass around, maybe a solution like this with a capture card, and I think that's what they're showing here, some different capture cards. And I've got to think the cost on this is relatively low. So if you're looking for a budget setup, maybe you model your kit somewhere around this. Lots of new webcams you could choose from too, if that's the route you're gonna want to go. Maybe the advantage of this over, say, a webcam on a laptop is you get that good microphone, you get the light, and hey, if you had the mirrorless, you could be recording right onto the mirrorless camera to create some really high quality footage that you could then take to post production or something like that. So and hey, there's a doggy, so bonus points for that.
It's an interesting concept, though. Definitely.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, this would eliminate a lot of the, hey, where's my HDMI cable? I can't find this,
Absolutely. I like the fact that it's all secured on there, so it, like you say, in terms of maybe within an office, that would be easy to pass around between colleagues and make sure that you never lose parts too, because that's probably one of the biggest things is when you don't have a inner box type setup, then it's easy to lose little pieces of your gear like screws and stuff like that. So this is a good way to make sure that everything is kind of in one place and easily accessible.
Yeah, brilliant. Here's a way that you could maybe enhance a Soapbox style kit. Why don't we go ahead and shamelessly plug Pearl Nano here. I could see a Pearl Nano fitting on there quite capably, actually. And, the size of Pearl Nano, it's maybe only like, 5-6 inches in width.
Yep.
You could probably find a way to mount this inside the Soapbox so that, it's you could just have like the front interface sort of poking out, be able to do one-touch recording and one-touch streaming. And another cool thing with Pearl Nano is that because it has power over Ethernet, you would only have to plug in one cable. You could just plug in. So folks around the office could take the kit to their desk, plug it into the RJ45 port at their desk, and be streaming or recording right to their company's cloud, or be able to copy files and recordings quickly. Pearl Nano could be a nice complement to something like a Soapbox kit. And in fact, we were doing some experimentations earlier this week. I'll just share some photos. I don't know if you've seen these yet, Matt, but our colleague Jeremy was experimenting with building a box for Pearl Nano. And here you see he's trying to see if he can fit it all. This is a pretty small Pelican case there, but he's got some different parts, and he's actually pairing it up with an ATEM. A lot of people ask us, oh, what's the purpose of an ATEM versus a Mini? Well, ATEM has some nice capabilities in terms of being able to control Blackmagic cameras. So we were trying to see if like we could create the perfect pairing in a Pearl Nano and an ATEM. And here you see a little nook so that we would be able to do even something like Zoom or Microsoft Teams for the guest. Possibly be able to use the nook to run a teleprompter on a monitor. And here you see, a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema. We would probably try mounting a shotgun mic onto it. So all of this, you look at like the scale here, you could probably make this work in a Pelican case. And that's not a very big Pelican case, but when you consider, the small profile of all of these parts, it's pretty amazing the amount of technology that you can cram into a small portable kit.
No, that's awesome. It looks as though you guys have started making progress with that. I think I saw one or two of those pictures earlier in the week, but not all of those. How's Jeremy found rigging up the Blackmagic inside of the Pelican case?
Well, we might have to do some fabrication, right? Like we're trying to figure out whether it extends up on an arm out of the case, or whether maybe we go something similar to like Studiobox and it bolts right onto the lid. So we're gonna have to do some fabrication testing to see, what method works best and what form factor works best with the case. We want to try to keep the case as small as possible to make it easy to ship. So and very compact when it arrives. A big part of it is creating that experience for the guest, for the participant when they receive this, right? We want it to feel like you're opening a Christmas present and not intimidating at all, and no messy cables to figure out. So a lot of that will come with the simplicity of something like the Pearl Nano, which only has one cable to Ethernet and one cable to the camera. And maybe we're just using a USB port for the microphone, or maybe the microphone's mounted and comes through the camera, which would mean less cables again. So anyway, lots of ideas. We're working on it, and we'll see what we come up with.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, we'll have some units for testing soon. Let's skim through just a few other options we came across. We won't spend as much time on these, but here is the One Touch Studio. What is this? I think this is on like in some campuses. And it's basically just a little recording station that people can use. I could definitely see being able to set this up with a Pearl. Maybe a Pearl Mini would be a good option here. But, maybe you have a shared space that many people in your organization need to be able to use and quickly record or stream. The most recent example that we have done is actually Jeremy was doing some testing with a real estate office who they set up a small studio room so that the real estate agents could talk about their listings and be able to just record a video with a button press. And then Jeremy, their editor, can pull those recordings down from Epiphan Cloud the moment the recording is finished. So there's very little turnaround time on those edits. Good, efficient workflow. So love the concept of a one-button studio. I think here it shows she even has a button that she can activate with her foot. Try to zoom that in a bit. That's pretty cool. Start recording with a little foot pedal, maybe. Very smart. Yeah. What else do we have here? This is Quicklink, a video over IP solution provider. This has been around for a while. We've seen this form factor. This looks like a PTZ camera inside some kind of hard case with a handle. And the lights are kind of these tubes on either side. Yeah. And then the idea here is that it looks like sort of a proprietary system that streams back to their encoder and decoder. So just thought this was interesting as well. What's your impression when you see something like this, Jeremy? Or Matt, rather. I was thinking of Jeremy.
No worries. Yeah, this one looks interesting. It looks chunky, but I think that in terms of it looks more like a finished overall product. I'd say that they look like they've actually put some thought into how they're going to build it and kind of make it proprietary, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not sure it would be the best option for everyone. It it's not overall, in my opinion, personally, the prettiest look, but I think that I like the fact that the lights are built in either side. Um, my one concern with a couple of the previous boxes that we looked at was potentially the lighting was only coming from either one side or one source, and at least here you've got two sources of light, so I think that's a positive. Um, and if they have their own capability to kind of source back to their own encoders, then that's smart in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure this would be my number one option though, to be honest, Dan.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're using a PTZ camera here, right? So sort of a different, certainly a different quality expectation than what you would get with a red or with a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema. But maybe if portability is your main concern and just ease of use, this doesn't look very intimidating at all. It's got some nice stickers on the side of it that make it look approachable. I did notice here at the bottom that looks like it's just a Scarlett audio interface. Like this is what we're using right now, Matt.
Absolutely, yeah.
We're big fans of the Scarlett Solo. So I think there's no reason why you couldn't build something like this yourself. It'd be pretty straightforward to just, mount a PTZ camera inside some kind of chassis with a monitor and a Scarlett. I would, of course, add a Pearl Nano in there as well so I can stream SRT wherever I want, stream to the Epiphan cloud. I got to keep plugging Epiphan, right? But a Nano would probably, I could imagine you could fit a Nano in a box of this scale. So, yeah, interesting setup. What else do we have here? Okay, this was interesting. I think you might have found this one.
Oh yes.
What do we have here? Describe what we're looking at.
So this is not quite a studio in a box, but when we started talking about it, it kind of rung my bell on something that I'd seen a little while ago. I think it was through BBC.com. So basically, there's this kid from, I believe, Netherlands, and he was traveling a lot with his friends. I think he may have been a streamer, and essentially they would always run into the issue where they wanted to play games together whilst they're traveling, and not all the hotels had a proper screen that could connect to HDMI, and not obviously when you're in the airport itself, there's nowhere to play. So they kind of designed a similar in-the-box type theory where you can now play video games by just opening a box. Obviously, I would imagine there needs to be some sort of source power, but there's a screen and a game built into the box. So they started doing that and kind of promoting it on their Instagram page. They knew a couple of lower league footballers, I think, and they started making these for them, and all of a sudden it grew into a massive company where they're now selling to some of the biggest footballers in the world. So it's a cool concept to think that there's pretty much anything these days you could probably turn into a inner box type theory.
Yeah, smart. Yeah, this is just cool. I mean, to be really what's I think fueling this is like, hey, you can get really high quality displays in a small form factor now, and so much of our technology is becoming more slim and streamlined. So this makes a lot of sense. Also saw this. This is a good tutorial video on YouTube from Caleb Pike, which is the DSLR. Is it DSLR Pros? Was his YouTube channel. This is like a recording case, but again, he mounted a camera in a case with a monitor, and if you just need a pop-up recording solution for like a solo presentation, this looks pretty nice. I mean, I'll get this a little closer. This is he's just using the articulating screen on the camera right now. So if you are looking for a video, check this one out on YouTube. Maybe we'll put a link up here at the top. I just thought this was a nice little kit as well.
What I find really cool about this is that this is going to inspire a lot of independent people and smaller potentially productions to, as Epiphan is looking at doing, start maybe building their own boxes, because definitely the ease of use and knowing that if you just open up a lid case and basically plug in one cord and press a button and you're good to go. I mean, that would save a lot of time and trouble for a lot of people. So
yeah, and just be easy to use. I mean, sometimes you just don't have the time, and if something's easier to use, you're more likely to do it, right? So I think, yeah, that's and I see we got the link in chat for anyone who wants to check out that video. It's the YouTube channel is DSLR Video Shooter, which we're a big fan of here at Epiphan. Do we have any others? Maybe we have one more here. This is just another Pelican case with everything you need. So this is VidKit, ring light, Yeti mic, looks like a mirrorless camera, and Bob's your uncle. What else do you need, really? I would love to see, I'm not sure how you mount this stuff here. You would still need stands. So maybe you have a little mini tripod or something like that. But seeing the ring light deployed a lot. What's your thoughts on, while we have you here, Matt, curious what your thoughts are on ring lights. Are these as effective as everyone seems to think?
I think they serve a purpose in the market. I'm not sure that a ring light is something that you would bring along to a professional production. You might get laughed away a bit with that. But by the same token, there is definitely a place in the market for it. I was using a ring light personally for a little while, just for Zoom calls, for any kind of streaming. Any kind of YouTube host would probably look at a ring light and think that that's not a bad idea. And for anyone starting on a budget, a ring light is a good idea, to be honest, because you can. I would say that there's always a better option for lighting than a ring light, but is it necessary? Can you afford it? Not always. So if you're starting out in the industry, or you're starting out as any kind of streamer, I'd say yes, it's a good option. But if you're looking to try and increase your production value within your productions, then perhaps you could start looking at bi-colored lights, slightly bigger lights. I know that we have been chatting about putting together the studio in a box, and some of our discussions have been about which lights we would use in that box and which lights we would want to send to people. But ring lights did not appear in that conversation.
Yeah. One of the things I always find funny is people are using the ring light, but they're not putting the lens in the center of the ring, right? Isn't that the point? Is that you put the lens in the center of the ring so that ideally the camera is not seeing any shadows, because the light surrounds the camera and has that sort of perfect perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you get a lot less mileage when you're not doing that.
Absolutely. I would say that is the main purpose of a ring light, is to try and give you a better source of lighting all around. And generally they're used just for faces, right? I mean, you can play around and use them however you want, but that would be their main purpose.
Mm-hmm. Something to certainly keep an eye on. Let's, you know what? I think we've covered all the boxes we wanted to do a quick review of today. Why don't we jump over to the kitchen and let's talk about a couple things that have been happening at Epiphan. I don't even have a coffee with me today. What is going on? Do you have any? You got some water there at least, right?
I got a water. I don't know if I can plug the brand, but
there you go.
There you go.
Brought to you by Gatorade. In the kitchen this week at Epiphan, we've got a couple neat things that have been populating on our website. This is a new blog post from Marta, best streaming software in 2022. This is something that we like to catch up with. We don't do it every year because there's not enough changes in one year, but every couple years. And I am seeing something new here in the graphic, NVIDIA Shadow Play. Very interesting. That's built into your GPU right on your PC. But you have a lot of options when it comes to software streaming. Which option is right for you. Is software streaming even right for you in the first place? For something like this show, hardware encoding makes a lot of sense because we get that extra factor of reliability and ease of use and consistency. But maybe you have some unique production needs. Maybe you're just looking to do some game streaming. Maybe you just want to stream from a laptop and, you don't need that mission critical encoder to back up your production, while streaming could be right for you, software streaming. Also, I'm using software right now to stream my screen share. Actually, I'm using OBS. So as you see me scrolling here, I'm going to go down. Wow, there's a lot of information in this article, a lot of pros and cons for each of these. OBS is working for me right now because I can use OBS to stream SRT to our studio Pearl, which is producing this show right now. And it gives me a really high quality screen share, much better, in fact, than you would get on a Zoom call or a Teams call. So, like, for instance, when we want to watch back Caleb's YouTube video here, you're getting a much higher quality and higher frame rate screen share than you would be with Zoom or Teams, which are notoriously troublesome when it comes to playing video on a screen share. So just an idea of one reason why you might want to use software to stream. Also, Matt, I'm sure you've heard about this. This is the Epiphan Evolution Lecture Capture Symposium.
Yes.
That is happening next week. Have you caught one of this? What have you heard?
It looks like it's going to be an interesting symposium. I think that it's covering lecture capture, correct?
Yeah, this is all about lecture capture. Definitely in like the post-secondary environment is probably going to be one of the main topics here. And we have some great guests. We have an IT consultant from Oregon State University. We have an AV systems designer from Baylor University, and also an education expert from Crestron. So a really great panel of thought leaders in this space, all hosted by Epiphan's own Mathieu Renaud, who is an expert in lecture capture as well. So the Evolution Symposium is going to be a great source of information for anyone interested in capturing education in a professional way, making lecture and classroom recordings easy to capture, accessible, and providing that that high quality video that students demand these days and expect. So it'll be definitely a rich conversation. And if you haven't, make sure to sign up right here on epiphan.com to save your place, and that'll be happening at 2 p.m. Eastern on March 16th next week. So we're excited for that as well.
Definitely. I'll tell you what, a lecture capture with proper quality would have made my life a lot easier during university. So.
Oh yeah, no kidding, hey?
Wish I was born 10 years later at this point.
Were many of your classes captured on video? What was it like for you?
I took quite a few online classes. I think it just started to kind of kick off when I was in university, online access to course materials, and it wasn't very good. The quality of it wasn't very good. So I definitely see how this could be something that would be a huge push in the education industry.
Yeah, no kidding. And I had a similar experience. I think I had one class in my final year of university where the professor came to me and said, I was her TA, and she came to me and said, "Hey Dan, I know you're a video guy. How can we record these classes so that when people can't make it, they can still catch up?" So quite literally, I sat at the front row of the classroom with a camera on a tripod, and I just followed her with that camera manually through the entire lecture. And when she played, she actually had a very media-rich presentation in her lectures. And unfortunately, there was no good, easy way to capture the videos that she would play back as part of her lecture. So that was like kind of the one caveat of the class was if you wanted to be able to see the videos and the media content that she shared, you had to actually be there. So the lecture capture in her classroom, at least, it became more of like a way to review the content and not necessarily engage with it fully, and with being able to see all of the clips she was referencing. So it certainly has come a long way to see some of the setups now that have multi-camera, high quality array microphones where you can hear all the students in the classroom asking questions, and things like media capture from the professor's laptop or from the projector system in the classroom, and just integrating all of that technology in the classroom. We've even seen things like video microscopes making their way into the lecture recording and having all of those ISOs available to the students afterwards. So be interested to see and learn about some of the new evolving technology and lecture capture on the symposium next week.
Definitely. I think it makes education a lot more immersive when you're able to kind of do this stuff, and a lot more accessible to students too. So that can only be seen as a positive.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, we've rambled on for long enough. Let's wrap things up. It was great to have you on the show for the first time, Matt. I think this was episode 225. Wow. It's great to have you on board, and thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah. And as always, if you want to engage with Epiphan, you can find us on all the socials: Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. And you can also touch base with us on our website. We've got a great chat component on our website. Stay tuned on everything happening in Epiphan, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks so much for watching.
Cheers.